On this episode of the Star Wars Time Show, Matt and Nick will revisit their Mando Season 3 once-in predictions to see how far off or close they were to what fans got. After that, they'll officially put S3 to bed by recapping its top moments. We're looking at you, Lizzo, and Jack Black. They'll then shift gears to the Star Wars movie arena in the new Rey movie, which apparently has already changed drastically from when Damon Lindelof initially pitched it. Of course, the show will end with the Question of the Week segment and the latest round of Top 5 Star Wars Fan Artist Features. Punch it, Chewie.
Hey now, everybody! Yip, yip, yee-hoo! Yub nub and a happy Tuesday to you all. And I'm happy, Nick. You know why I'm happy? I think for the first time since we've gone live stream prime time, as they call it, good old Tones is here to listen for a little bit. You know, it's just never feels like a live stream without Tones here, but he's here today, and apparently it's his birthday. So happy birthday to the Tones. Kick-ass gift from your new lady in life. She gets you. I'd go ahead and lock that one up, buddy, but good to see you. We're here to do something, right? I mean, this is a... Yeah, we talked about this last week, Nick. This is the first time literally in 2023 that we did not have a new episode of Star Wars to break down, take a deep dive into, and discuss, spin our wheels, and all that fun stuff. But we've done it before. You know, we are the masters of talking about nothing when it comes to Star Wars. That's why our mantra is there's always time for Star Wars time, because we truly believe that. So we do have some content planned for today. We actually have segments. We can't just rely on new Star Wars content, although we kind of are, because we're basically putting Mandalorian Season 3 to bed, officially, SWTS style today. We're going to revisit our February predictions, see how well or not well we did, and then we're going to recap some of the best moments from the Mandalorian Season 3. So, hey, we've got some content for you. It's probably not going to be the 2.5, 3 hour shows that you've become accustomed to during new Star Wars run of 2023, but we'll try to oblige. All right?
We'll do as much as we can with what we got.
That's right. So, you know what that means, though? We can return to a little bit of pop culture talk. We've had to cut that the last few weeks because of time constraints, and Nick and I have just kind of gone balls deep into the latest episodes of Mandalorian. Got really gabby, if you will. But we've got some pop culture nuggets to share with you before we get into the nitty-gritty of the Mandalorian Season 3 and an interesting anecdote about the new Jedi Order movie that came out this week. So, hey, there's always time. So let's get down to it. But first, SISU. And I'm not talking about the dragon from Raya. I'm talking about the latest movie from Finland's cinematic powerhouse of whoever. It's a Finnish movie. I don't really know any of the actors or the director, but it made it here to the States. I checked it out last week. And if you're on the live stream, which we do every Tuesday, 5 p. East on YouTube, youtube.com/Star Wars Time Show, you can see the graphic of SISU. And if you're looking at the graphic, you're like, is this like Mad Max inspired? And I'm going to say no, but it has that feel. So SISU, Nick, is set at the end of World War II in Finland as the Russians and Finns are pushing the Nazis out of the country, and the Nazis are taking their scorched earth approach on their withdrawal. And it focuses on a prospector who has come across some gold, and then who crosses the Nazis leaving. And that's where things kind of go sideways for the Nazis. So it's best described as Mad Max meets John Wick meets Inglourious Bastards. So if you enjoy watching Nazis get fucked up, you'll love this movie. If you enjoy over-the-top action and gore, you're going to love this movie. If you like high art cinema, you're going to like this movie. It's just very well done. It is it's nice and short too, so there's no bullshit, Nick. It's not John Wick 4 clocking in at 3 hours having 45-minute long action sequences. It's nice and tight. You got a good little story, nice little ending, fantastic action, over the top. I mean, don't get me wrong. This shit makes John Wick look like it's somewhat rooted in real life, but it works. Go check it out. I mean, it's something you probably could wait for home release. But if you're looking for a movie this week that doesn't start with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, SISU is a great bet. And it seems, Nick, I don't know if you saw this news, but Return of the Jedi added another $5.2 million to its gross, thanks to the limited release this past weekend for its 40th anniversary. So OT Star Wars can still rack up the dough, and it was only on, I think, Nick, 457 screens. So that's a pretty damn good haul for a 40-year-old movie.
I saw that it was re-releasing. I mean, I've seen them all in theaters thanks to drive-ins in Austin, where you can they'll just have events where it's drive in and see the Star Wars trilogy, or drive in and see old classic movies and stuff like that. So I've technically seen all of the Star Wars movies in theaters at this point.
Yeah,
it's cool that they put it back out.
I waffled. Last week it was SISU or ROTJ, and obviously you know which one I went with. And please do not rescind my Star Wars fanboy card. Okay, there's reasons for this. I mean, I have seen Return of the Jedi probably 500 times. Just most recently watched it this December with the holiday full Star Wars rewatch. And I've been wanting to see SISU for a minute here. Ever since I saw the trailer, the Red Band trailer, I was just like, holy shit. This movie speaks my language. So I passed on it. The little one and I had Return of the Jedi booked yesterday. You'll love this, Nick. This is like little kid logic here. I'm like, Charlie, Mom's out of town. Gym's canceled. Let's go catch a flick. Return of the Jedi. We can see it on the big screen. She's like, yeah, let's do it. So I booked the screening. Mm-hmm. I'm like, you know what? We'll even eat dinner there. I had meals to be delivered to the seat. And then we're talking. She's like, oh, man, Daddy, I can't wait to see this new movie, Rey and the Jedi Order. I'm like, whoa. Return of the Jedi. The one with the Rancor and Luke and Darth Vader and the Emperor going down the pit. She's like, oh, yeah, we've seen that one a lot. I'd rather go see Super Mario Brothers again. So I had to cancel and reshuffle. So you always got to be clear with the little ones. They don't quite still understand Return of the Jedi is not the new Jedi Order movie coming out. God knows when, if it'll even get made. You know what I mean? So... But SISU won out, and it was well worth it. Check it out. I don't know if you give a fuck, but on Rotten Tomatoes, I think it's clocking in the high 90s. It's top notch. I mean, it's not just gore for gore. It's great, and it's Nazis getting fucked up. So 2 thumbs up. All right, and the other thing, Nick, he was out partying all weekend, so I don't think he has many pop culture things to share unless he learned some new. Stripper pole dances or stuff like that. But the other thing to talk about that's been, quite relevant for us Star Wars fans is the release of Jedi Survivor. Okay? You know our opinion of the Jedi whatever franchise from Respawn. We don't hate it. We also aren't cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs over it. Nick is probably what, a 7 out of 5, 8 out of 10 type of deal for the first game. It was serviceable. I think we all looked at it as better than it originally was because we had gone so long without having a Star Wars game that didn't start with battle and end with front. But to me, Cal Kestis never, resonated with me. He's Mr. Milquetoast over here. Really, every character in the game outside the bad guys, the second sister and Vader, they're kind of like, bleh, who cares? Mantis crew, who gives a shit? The Mantis, who gives a shit? seer who gives a shit. You know, it's like, whatever. So we knew the sequel's coming out, and we were both like, yeah, Star Wars, we'll get it, play at some point. So I snagged it, grabbed it last Friday, put some time in, did stream because people in Discord wanted me to do that. No one came and watched. So fuck all you guys. But Nick, I have to say, about 5-6 hours in, for me, someone that wasn't like a Cal super fan or just a super fan of the franchise, the sequel is noticeably better. Now, I'm not talking about the PC version, which I've heard is a fucking tire fire at this point in time. I'm on Series X, so far so good. But to me, Nick, what really stands out as being improved is the story this time is somewhat engaging. Okay, it's kind of a cold open where you're just kind of thrust into a situation and you kind of see things play out, and then it starts to expand into the greater narrative. But more importantly, Mr. Milquetoast himself is growing on me. I'll be the first one to admit it. Cal Kestis isn't as lame as he was in Fallen Order. I don't know if it's because of his 5 years of growth, being out there fucking with the Empire, who knows, but he just... everything about the game, Nick, feels like it just has more personality than Fallen Order. Does that make sense? Like it just...
That's good. Yeah.
It feels more lived in. They feel more like Star Wars characters. It feels more Star Wars-y, if that's even a word or an adjective. So I'm digging it. I really am digging it. I'm not going to lie, Nick. It's something where I find myself every day like, hey, I want to go play Survivor. Hey, I want to go play Survivor. Hey, I probably should stop playing Survivor and take care of my kid or go to bed. You know what I mean? So it's got that grasp. But what I will tell you is it still has some fucking problems that hold it back from being excellent or, you know, the greatest Star Wars game and franchise of all time. And sadly, it's the fucking combat. I just, dude, and listen, you know, you guys can have fun with he's a pussy, doesn't want the challenge. That has nothing to do with it. I still firmly believe that a Star Wars game starring a Jedi should not fucking be Souls-like. It makes no sense. And here's the deal. Don't be like, oh, the combat's too tough for him. It's fucking the X button in LB and maybe Y, okay? So it's nothing about, it's not tough. The inputs aren't hard. I'd argue Hogwarts Legacy had a more complex control system than Jedi Survivor. You know, Nick, sometimes in Hogwarts, you get in a battle and you're like, trigger this, switch to that spell slot, bing, bang, boom, flip, 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 flip. You know, you really had to manage your fucking power set. Here, Jedi Survivor, it still mostly is spam, 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 try to block, spam, spam, spam. And here's the deal. I still don't think they have the parry counter system correct for a lightsaber. Cal Kestis can still get fucking owned by, like, these Star Wars rabbit pigs. Just fucking random animals can charge the motherfucker and take out half his health. And he can't even block it. Then, scout troopers are still a challenge for a Jedi with the Force and a lightsaber. That shit makes no sense to me. If you want to challenge me, do it with mini bosses and bosses, not fucking common fodder, all right? It's stupid. It's fucking dumb that Cal Kestis dies over and over against a big-ass fucking Triceratops-looking thing. Or a group of scout troopers that have shields that apparently can block lightsabers. Nick, it's still there. It's not so much the lumbering bullshit. Again, I hate to compare it to Hogwarts, but to me, as Nick and I expressed on the show, Hogwarts damn near perfected everything you could ever want for in a video game that's trying to give you the experience from another franchise that you know and love from a different medium such as books or film. That's all we want. In Jedi Survivor, I still feel like I'm fighting the controls to become the Jedi that I know Cal can be. And I just want a better indicate. When should I parry? Is it when he's literally hitting me or when he's winding up? You know, in Hogwarts, Nick, you'd get like a visual indicator. Even if they were off screen, you couldn't see them. That's the thing in Survivor. You could have a guy that's not even in your field of view coming up and fucking punching you in the back of the head and completely throwing you off balance, staggering you, and then you become a punching bag for fucking stormtroopers and scout troopers. Okay? It just, the combat, I'm sorry. If anyone's telling you, like, oh, this is the best lightsaber combat, and they're fucking drunk. Or they're young and stupid, okay? It is not good. The combat is still piss poor, in my opinion. It's the worst thing about the game, outside of gripe number 2, which carries over from the first one, and that's the fucking map and how you navigate this motherfucker. Hogwarts Legacy, right, Nick? Big fucking map. Here's a marker, here's a marker, here's a marker, here's a marker, here's a marker. These are all things you can do if you want to. Here's how you get to them. Not in fucking Jedi Survivor. Here's your 3D holo map that you have to somehow fucking figure out in the third dimension. Oh, am I on this level or this level? Is that on this level or this level? Oh, there's a marker, but do I have to go this way? Oh, that door's red. Maybe I go this way. Oh, another red door. I just don't get, Nick, why Respawn just won't use systems that work for big games like this. Like, give me a map that makes sense. Give me a map where I can put a fucking marker to, and I'll get just a little fucking tracker to follow. You fucking purists, they're like, oh, games are only good if the UI is completely vacant. Fuck off. Fuck off. All right? Respawn or whoever's like, yeah, we want our UI to be as clean as possible. Eat dicks. All right? All I want is a little fucking marker that I can place on a map that then shows me if I keep walking north, I'm going to eventually get to where I need to be. Is that too much to ask, Nick?
I mean, they've definitely committed. It seems like they've committed to just making this kind of like a Jedi Souls game.
I mean, the save system's still the same way. If you save, guess what? All the fucking enemies are coming back. Yay!
Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah, I mean, I think that the thing is, it's just like that's what people like. Like, people like that stuff.
Fuck those people.
And like,
what's wrong with people? Like, why? What?
I don't know.
It's why, Nick, if it was an actual challenge, like if I felt it was an actual challenge and it wasn't just like random pairing and countering, okay. But I'm telling you, dude, I can sit there and hold block shit, and I'll still go back. Like, you have to wear down a fucking scout trooper stamina just to attack him! A scout trooper! You know what I mean? Give me that challenge with a fucking boss. Okay, that makes sense. We're talking about fucking bucket heads and little beasts. Like these little fucking blue and white things. I know you motherfuckers have seen them. They'll charge your ass, knock you over, and then you're half dead.
Yeah. I may play the game eventually. I'm not dedicated to buying it, honestly.
Dude, just wait until it's free on Game Pass. But here's the sad thing. And Connor's not wrong. Here, I'll pop up his comment here. He's not wrong. Fuck Souls games, okay? But how does Souls like translate to a game about a fucking Jedi? How?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like make the Mandalorian a fucking Souls game. That makes more sense because he's more of a melee shooter type of guy. We're talking about fucking space wizards.
I agree with you guys, but it's purely based off of what people want now, and people buy these Souls games like crazy. God, and they're really.
I hate sounding old, but fuck this young. Is it the young generation of gamers, or is it people my age? Who the fuck wants to get upset at games in your 40s?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, a lot of people that are probably around my age really enjoy the Souls games. So I don't know. I mean, look, I don't really play Souls games. I bought Elden Ring and I played a little bit of it, and I kind of got bored with it because it wasn't really engaging in terms of a story to me. But hey, that's what is moving the needle in terms of sales now. Is those types of games and those types of combat experiences.
I don't know, man. Like,
what can I say?
Like, I remember, like, I used to love being challenged in a game. You know, veteran Call of Duty runs, stuff like that. That to me felt like a challenge. The Souls genre and Jedi Survivor, it seems like more of a challenge of how soon do you want to have a stroke? You know what I mean? That's not a fun gaming challenge to me. So there have been times, and I'm really trying, my friends, and go ahead and laugh. I'm at least trying Jedi Survivor to get through it on Jedi Knight, which would equate to normal difficulty. But it's getting very close, my friend, where I'm just going to drop that bitch down to dummy so I can just enjoy the game, because I know my rage right now is not translating to this game makes Matt happy, but it actually does. I really am enjoying my 6 hours so far with Survivor, and the reason I'm not deeper in is because if you're a loyal listener to the show, good for you. If not, go to hell. But I've got like home improvement hell going on right now. So all last Saturday, I was working on a deck. That continued into Sunday, and now we got to start doing some floors and shit. So I haven't quite had the time to sink it in. But Nick, if I think I did, I think I probably would have logged 15 to 20 hours, maybe getting close to complete, because I really enjoy Jedi Survivor. I just can't fucking stand the combat still, and the map is atrocious. Like, just make it easy for me to go wander and find stuff to where I feel like I'm not going to get lost and then lose my objective, and just make me feel like a goddamn Jedi when I'm fighting bucket heads and little beasts. Like, okay, if it's a big monster, sure, I probably should be a little more cautious and plan my attacks and be patient. But Nick, I'm telling you, I don't even know what the fuck these things are called, but I fucking hate their guts. They're like these little, they're like rabbit pigs, and they'll charge you. Literally, if you're not ready to just whack them down in one kill, like one hit you from off screen, they will stagger you. The next one will come in, hit you, take away half your health, and before you know it, you got to use a stim pack and then start considering if you want to go back to the goddamn save and respawn everything. Yay! Hey, listen, I really do enjoy the game. That's the fun part of listening to someone like me who's kind of nuts. Because not only can I sit there and freak out for a little bit over the gameplay, I can still calm down and tell you that I do enjoy it. I'm never going to understand these Souls mechanics in a game about a Jedi who should be light, fast, quick, precise. I've never seen a Jedi have to counter and parry stormtroopers. It's fucking stupid. It's dumb as shit. I don't care if they have fucking stun batons and shields. We're talking foot soldiers, grunts, cannon fodder. They're not skilled warriors. If they're skilled warriors, they'd be fucking Imperial Guards or something, for Christ's sake. Okay? So, here we go. Yeah, B-Mat, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. I'm with you. I am immersed in the story, which, first and foremost, Nick, is the most important thing to me when it comes to video games these days, in particular Star Wars video games. So the fact that Survivor has an intriguing story, or one that is keeping me coming back even with the shitbag combat, should speak volumes. So I'll leave it at that. Depending on when you tuned into this little mini impression review of Jedi Survivor, you either think it's the worst game I ever played, or you understand that I actually quite enjoy it and would recommend it, believe it or not, because most people aren't as insane as I am, and they'll just deal with the shitty gameplay and somehow justify that it makes sense. And it doesn't. Listen, those of you that beat these games, good for you. I don't know if it proves you have skill as a gamer, or that you just have the patience of Jesus Christ himself. It's not for me. And I don't want it in Star Wars, especially a game about a fucking Force user, all right? I mean, Force Unleashed, Jedi Academy, those are fucking games that use proper combat for a Force user. Enough said.
Eventually, when it goes on sale, I might pick it up. There's nothing that's like screaming to me that I need to play this game immediately right now. So yeah, I mean, I was out when it was released, and I know it's well reviewed, but I just I get like when there's a game that I want to play that's coming out, I know that I want to play it and I'll get it. But like this one, I'm just like, I'll play it when I play it. Like I don't feel like I'm missing anything in the Star Wars universe for not playing it.
Yeah, I mean, for Christ's sake, you can just go watch all the spoiler videos anyways. Like if you really want to get the story. So I think you'll be all right. Like if you're playing something right now that makes you smile, I would stick with it, because while this is seemingly having a good story, the characters are improved. Obviously, the visuals and everything is better, but the fucking combat map still suck balls. All right. And there's so many. There's like so many little games to be playing right now. I mean, I still want to play the most recent God of War. That High on Life is a fucking hoot. Have you even booted that up on Game Pass?
No, I haven't turned my Xbox on. And
are you still paying? Are you being a dickhead and just paying them for Game Pass?
Oh, I got two years of Game Pass for free when I bought the thing. So I don't know when that runs out, because I can't remember when I bought it.
I'm pretty sure it's out. Like I think it was out this December, maybe.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, whenever the 2 years that I paid for when I bought the thing runs out, then I will not be paying for it again. Yeah, I mean, because I don't really like play Xbox. Like I have it, but I don't really use it. So I'm probably like it's sitting on my shelf now, and it'll get packed into a box pretty soon.
That's pretty much we're the opposite. I mean that's my PS5 outside of Hogwarts, and that's only because my buddy at Sony sent me a key for the PS5. But I
mean, if you believe what Microsoft's saying, they're going to shut down the whole Xbox division because this Activision deal is not going to go through.
Well, they've.
If they're really in that bad of a spot, then they have mismanaged the ownership of the Xbox license for decades.
Yeah, no, I'm not as into the gaming scene as I used to, but it's pretty clear that Xbox leadership has always kind of struggled with that product. For no reason. The Xbox is a fantastic product. They had the better online infrastructure during the 360 era. They really could have captured that fucking market space, but Sony brass somehow continued to get the better first party IP, the better exclusives, and it is what it is.
It's international too. Like PS5 is more popular internationally than Xbox is. And I think that's where they really struggle is like, yeah, you can have like a really popular console in America, but like if you don't have a popular console in other regions.
It's the games, man. I mean, really beyond the 360 era, Sony has stuck their PP into the Xbox's mouth when it comes to games. And that plain and simple, that's what it is. You know, fanboys on either side of the spectrum can sit there and honk their tits over hardware capabilities. For the most part, they're identical machines. You know, the human eye is not really going to be able to tell the difference of a game on PS5 versus a Series X. It's software. Like Sony has just kicked Microsoft's ass purely on software. And Nick's right. Like the Microsoft's idea was, well, let's just keep buying up all these fucking publishers then, and that's how we'll get our software. And the UK essentially gave him a big fuck you last week with that. So who knows? But that would suck because I've been an Xbox guy since day one. It is my preferred platform, but I'm also not a lunatic that gets into the old fanboyism when it comes to consoles. I have them all. I'm fortunate enough to be able to do that, and I will continue to do that throughout life because A, I'm a jerk off and always have to have the latest and greatest, and B, you just never know when one of these publishers might actually get a game that has to be played on a specific console. So there you go. All right, some pop culture talk for you. Now it's time to get into our Mandalorian Season 3 retrospective, as they call it. If we had like some theme music, it would be playing right now. I guess we'll just have Chewie or somebody kick us into it. Thanks, Chewie. All right. Okay. Thanks, big guy. You can stop. So, if you remember, if you're new here, what we did or what we like to do, and we'll do it again for Ahsoka, is we like to, before a new Star Wars season or show debuts, we like to go through and express our desires, things we would like to see. And then after that, we go in and then predict what we think we will see. So we did that back in, looks like February 21 for our wants for Mandalorian Season 3, and then February 28 for our predictions. So, because we're never going to hide behind anything, and just as much as we love applauding ourselves for prediction wins, we're also okay shitting on ourselves for fails. All right? So that is the purpose of this segment. Okay, Nick, so I have just like a graphic up on the screen. I think it's still current in Slack if you need to reference here, but we'll start with our wants. We'll go through them one by one and kind of maybe talk a little bit on how we failed or how we won, and we'll see where things go. So our first want for The Mandalorian Season 3 was learn more about Din's past with Death Watch. Well, I think we can go ahead and say that was a fail.
Yep, didn't get
the
any
only
of that.
the only way we could maybe save a little bit of face on that is when the armor in episode 7 was like, Death Watch no longer exists. It's scattered, but it had nothing to do with Din.
Yeah.
So it's a fail outside. Hold on, Nick. I can almost talk this back into a win. We did learn at the very end that Din's real name probably isn't Din, and that probably came through his past with Death Watch, so I'm changing it. We actually did hit a win here.
Bruh.
All right. Next.
Shook a win out of that.
Yeah, see,
one.
I can.
This one's a hard.
Yeah, we really
fucked
fucked this one, but learn who the armor actually is, i.e., is she Rook Cass or someone new? Well, we still don't know shit.
She's still just a helmeted somebody.
She is the
eventually. I mean, I assume at some point we're gonna find out who this person is. Maybe season 4, but at this point, it's gotten to the point to where, like, does it really matter if they just keep her as like some sort of like go between? Then does it really even matter who she is?
I honestly think you may be onto something, because listen, we read these interviews from the actors and actresses, and there was a few from Emily this year, and she was like, that John and Dave, they have not given me any insight. I don't have a character name. I don't have a history to kind of look back on and formulate my performance. They just, they tell me a few things about the script, and I just kind of bring the character to life. And I'm honestly, Nick, I'm starting to believe her. I am starting to believe that the armor at this point in time may not truly have an identity, like Nick was speculating right there. Maybe she does just always stay as the armorer, the detached, wise, not even leader anymore of the Children of the Watch.
Yeah. It's surprising to me that they haven't made a move to reveal who she is, given the fact that she's been so heavily involved since season 1, and that we're now in a world where Mandalore is in the beginning of being reestablished, and nobody knows who this. Like, I don't even think that the people within her own covert know who she is. Like that. I mean, that's to the degree of anonymity this person is. Like, the only person that may have known is now dead with Paz Vizsla. Like, he's dead. So. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I still think that there's a good possibility that she can be Rook Cass, and that there's a good possibility that she may be like a long-term spy within the Mandalorians.
Oh boy,
because
super sleeper cells. Nick's going super sleeper cell.
Because it's, if she's a spy for Thrawn, then why would she reveal herself when Thrawn isn't back into the galaxy yet? Blah, 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 all these different things. But, I mean, for the time being, moving forward, I'm treating her as her name is the Armorer, and that's it.
Yeah, I agree. It sounds good. It works for me.
There's no other reason for me to believe that she is somebody else yet, until they actually and realistically, I don't even think that they've like teased that she could be a mole, that she could be somebody else. Like the fandom and everybody else, and us in particular, have like talked ourselves into believing that she is somebody that she has not hinted at herself being. So, I mean, I think it's just a sickness of being a Star Wars fan. It's like everybody always has to be somebody. Everybody's got to be connected to somebody else.
Well, Nick, we at least put or someone new. So, we weren't going fully down that trap, but you are right. We always want somebody to be somebody that has existed before. And I don't think it matters at this point. Like the big Mandalorian plot line has kind of been taken care of through season 3 now. Bo's redeemed. They're all united and they've retaken their planet. So, unless Bo and the armor go out for coffee and really want to have a heart-to-heart, it's not that big of a thing anymore. Shit's been kind of resolved. So like Nick said, it's not even an important narrative note at this stage outside of us fans just dying to know, like, is it somebody? Were we right? Was she in the Clone Wars? And that may never happen. Okay, here comes another fail. Introduction of Sabine Wren. And
that's just a complete
miss. And if you think about it, with hindsight, the narrative never made real sense for her to be involved. The way the season played out, it just kind of like a Boba Fett cameo. It just never really made sense. Sabine would have made way more sense than Boba because she is pure Mandalorian and has definitely been mixed up in their culture. But how she would have got kind of wrenched in, it didn't happen. I mean, it made sense as a want. Guess what? I think we predicted it too, but it failed.
Yeah, I think on this one, there was a lot of expectation because of her lineage. Like that was something that we even talked about leading up to the final 2 episodes of Mando season 3 was like, well, she's a Wren and the Wrens have deep lineage to Mandalore and their family ties and everything like that. And even like the connection between Bo-Katan and Ursa Wren, her mother, and like, could Bo reach out to Sabine in their time of need when they're going to take back the planet of Mandalore? But it seems like at this point, Sabine has almost completely severed ties with her Mandalorian roots. She's way more focused on the search for Ezra, for everything that the epilogue of Star Wars Rebels had led us to. And even though I still think it would have made sense for her to be included in the Mandalorian finale.
Well, especially through Bo-Katan. I mean, her and Bo have a direct link in Rebels.
Yeah, exactly. I can see why they held it off. They really want to make Sabine's journey the one that was teased in the Rebels epilogue and keep her true to that.
And it does make sense, Nick, because if I go back to season 4, I mean, that's where she kind of makes peace with the tragedy she left on Mandalore via the weapon and turns over her Darksaber to Bo. And kind of like Nick said, doesn't necessarily wash herself of her people, but she commits to the Rebel Alliance versus what the Mandalorians were trying to do on Mandalore during Imperial reign.
Yeah, so even though it would have been cool, it's cool to know that she is going to play a big part in the Ahsoka series. It's coming up in August, and that we'll get to see a lot of Sabine on screen with her Phoenix Squadron compadres. So miss on our part, but still, I think that in terms of like a speculative desire,
it made sense.
I
it
feel
wasn't
like
crazy.
That one definitely.
Yeah, it wasn't crazy.
Makes sense.
Here we got one from Tone here. Tones was at Celebration with his son, and they had a meet and greet with Katie, and asked her if Mando would be in Ahsoka, and she said yes immediately. But she told you something else, Tones, that never played out either. So maybe the lovely Miss Sackhoff was just trying to tell you what you want to hear. But I could see he is, even though he's been, again, he's back on not on the lam, but he's free to do what he pleases. So I guess that opens him up. And if Ahsoka is kind of nudging the New Republic for some help, maybe they bring him in that way. Yeah. Plus, he is still kind of the glue. I mean, he is the guy that started the Mandoverse. So
yeah, I do think that him being in Ahsoka is likely to happen because, like you said, like he is kind of the thread that ties all of these different shows together. I mean, like,
well, even Bo could do that now, right, Nick? Like Bo, if she pops up, she would kind of be that glue.
Yeah. You know, I mean, Bo has strong ties to Ahsoka from Clone Wars. She has strong ties to Sabine Wren, like we were just saying. So, like, it would make sense for Bo to show up in that show too. But it's just like, how much do you really want to intermingle? Then you're starting to get to like, well, how much do you want these characters to start interacting with each other within different shows before you have this big kind of convergence event that we know is coming with the Dave Filoni movie? If anything, what would be more likely is that Din is going to be there with Grogu because they're the in-between players. There was no reason for Din to be in the Book of Boba Fett other than the fact that Filoni told us, well, Book of Boba Fett's really just Mandalorian season 2.5. You could have had the whole Book of Boba Fett show without Din being involved at all. You know, like realistically, he didn't need to be in that show, but he was. So it's highly likely that we'll see Din because, like you said, it seems like he's just got a shitload of free time now.
Yeah, just hanging out. Maybe Carson sends him over to check something out. But if Djarin isn't in Ahsoka, big deal. I mean, every episode was written by Dave that came out last week. I mean, it's literally written by Dave, written by Dave, written by Dave, written by Dave, all 8 of them. So if he doesn't show up, I don't think it's going to be a big deal because I think there's a pretty intense story that is about to be woven, or according to some Reddit commenters, oh great, so just a cartoon in live action because Dave's writing everything.
Can't please people nowadays.
Yeah, no, everyone's a critic. All right, next one here, Nick. I'm going to say we pretty much hit this one right on the head. Gideon's grand plan,
this is a win.
And does it involve Thrawn? I'm going to say yes, even though Gideon in the back of his head was saying no to Thrawn. But we learned through the Shadow Council, well, also through Gideon himself, we learned his grand plan, which was to create Force-sensitive clones of himself and put them in Dark Trooper 4.0 suits. And we did know through the Shadow Council that they have plans for Thrawn. So, Nick, I think this is a complete hit.
This is a hard win. I mean, who knows if there is more to Gideon in season 4. I think we all believe that what we saw at the end of Mando season 3 is definitely not the end of Gideon. But we do now have a beat on his master plan, and that kind of goes all the way back to the beginning of season 1. You know, why do people, why did the client want the baby? Why did the client want Grogu? Well, we find out in season 1 that there's something to do with cloning through
Pershing.
Pershing, and we saw the Camino and Ty there, and now we kind of have that thread closed out. Well, they wanted to have Grogu because Gideon is working on cloning tech for himself. Does that extend all the way to Exegol and with Palpatine? Yet to be seen, but that could be uncovered in future seasons of The Mandalorian. But as for Gideon's grand plan, I feel like we do have like a pretty solid
we got
idea.
The whole thing. I mean, he was trying to enact it there in the Mandalorian cave until he said the wrong words about their trinkets, and then they worked together and kicked his clone ass. So, hey, that's a win for us.
That's a win. The Thrawn side of it, obviously, that is coming. We know that's coming. Gideon's plan does not seem to involve Thrawn. He was more of like, well, yeah, Thrawn, sure, Thrawn's out there, but guess what? Right. I'm here now, and I'm doing my shit.
On paper, the Shadow Council's mission statement is bring back Thrawn, but like I said, in Gideon's mind, it's, fuck that. I'm going to try to be the power player here. So a complete win there, and you know what, Nick? We're right into the next one, another complete win. Not that was hard. I think my little kid could have picked that one, but we had Mandos versus Imperials, and boy, did we get it, and it was glorious.
Bang, bang, bang.
Especially in the finale in particular with the flying charge and all that stuff. So we got that, and it looked just as radical, I think, as we all expected.
Yeah, I mean, I would even say that the finale probably went above and beyond our expectation for what it could be. I mean, having Basically, Imperial Super Commandos resurrected into the post ROTJ timeline, into the Mandoverse, with full Beskar armor, full jetpack capability. The fights that we saw in the final 2 episodes of Mando season 3 are fantastic. And I think that there's still a lot of opportunity for Mandos versus Imperials to come. Obviously, once Thrawn brings his his
could be zombie Imperials at that point in time.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah. So very excited for the future of the Mando versus Imperials once for the
and like I
Mandoverse.
said last week, I really do think watching Mandos in action now is more exciting than watching Force users. Sorry. I said it. Sorry. They're more skilled warriors because they don't have the magic to rely on. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But yes, could Darth Vader landed down there and just, squished all of them? More than likely. It's okay.
Yeah, we said it's more entertaining.
It looks cooler. Yeah, it looks cooler. It's not as boss.
We didn't say that if you put 100 Mandos versus 100 Jedi, that the Mandos would win. The Jedi probably would still win, but it's cool watching Mandos fight.
Exactly. All right, Nick. This next one, I'm gonna say
I'll
call it,
but I'm
gonna let you, since you were the one that was really concerned about this. So it is Grogu communicates beyond cues and signs, and it sounds like Nick's giving us the win.
In the most technical sense, it's a win, right? Because he gets a suit where he can say yes and no. He used that to effectively communicate that in multiple instances. So technically, that's a win for the Star Wars time.
I'll take it, man.
Now,
I love winning.
Yeah. Now, how much that will extend into season 4 now that suit is completely destroyed, we'll see.
Yeah, you might be back on the Grogu hate train come season 4.
Yeah, I'm just waiting because I don't know. Obviously, nobody knows anything about Grogu and Yoda and Yaddle's species. Nobody knows when they come to their maturation in terms of their ability to communicate. But I feel kind of weird that he's getting into his 60s now. He's getting close to 60, and this kid can't talk yet.
Do we need to go to speech therapy or something, Grogu? I mean, it could still be trauma from the Keller and Beck rescue. That could happen. But yeah, I swear, I still swear in season 3, like if you listen closely, especially I think it's episode 3 or something where they're all on the gauntlet and they're talking and Din says this is a way, and I think Bo might say it, and I swear he's like like that. So I think he's trying, but he's clearly not there. And even the armor busted his ass in the finale. Like, listen, he can't do shit without his parents' blessing because he can't speak. So it is what it is, but I'm glad Nick gave us the win. I will always take victory over defeat. So
it's kind of like my dog, like my dog Ash. I have a little mini Australian Shepherd, and we had buttons for her that she could hit to say things that she wanted. She potty, play, treat.
That's fantastic.
She could hit the buttons and then she could talk.
How long did it take to train that?
Honestly, she doesn't use them anymore because here's what would happen. She learned what they did. She learned what they did very quickly. But the thing is she didn't want to use them. So here's what would happen. She would go sit by the door to go to the bathroom. Right. And we'd be like, Ash, you have to hit your button. So here's what she would do. She would walk over to her button and she would stare at us and she would hit it. And then she would hit it again. And then she would hit it again.
Yeah, she's like getting you a fuck off, humans.
Yeah. She would intentionally not do it, even though she knew what they did. That is amazing. She was like, I don't want to do
I love it.
It's like, this is ridiculous.
She's like, fuck you, meatbags. I figured it out. I learned it. You're going to, make me do this remedial shit? Look, I'm at the door. It means I got to piss.
It's like, you know what I have to do. Don't make me do this fucking dumb shit.
She gets a Chewbacca. Or he. That is fantastic, dude. I love it. Yeah. All right, so Nick gave us the win there. Next one, you know what? I'm gonna let you judge this too, but I think we got it down. Bo and Din's Darksaber conflict resolved.
Yeah, I also marked this as a win. I think that at the end of season 2, we thought that there may have been a little bit more conflict resolution to be had. Like
we thought there was some legit beef
definitely
between the two. Like she had she had some problems with the guy.
Yeah, I think that we were definitely expecting that. We were definitely expecting a little bit more, you know, pomp and circumstance to be given to this whole Darksaber resolution. But very quickly, Din Djarin was happy to hand it over and be like, "Hey, man, I don't even want this." You know, and then we find out later that he didn't. It literally mattered nothing to him because in his version of the Mandalorian religion, the Darksaber is but a trinket, and happily handed it over to Bo. And then the real conflict resolution on the Darksaber end of it came with the fight between Bo and Axe Woves, you know, and that was kind of really the resolution there. And then you had the ultimate resolution, perhaps, at the end when the Darksaber was completely destroyed by Gideon's Robo Darksaber suit.
Yeah, I think we kicked the shit out of that one. And here's, I got a pitch for you. If you want to make a Souls-like Star Wars game, Din Djarin is the lead and he has the Darksaber, right? Hear me out, because the dude can barely wield it. He wields it like a battle axe, like it weighs 5,000 pounds. That's Jedi Survivor gameplay. Din Djarin with the Darksaber, right there. That's the best way to explain it. And if you think that's fun, well, good for you. I don't. I just don't.
Yeah, I mean that would make more sense. And so I mean, I consider that a win. The Darksaber, as far as we are concerned, at the end of season 3. The Darksaber storyline is closed.
No more conflict around that legendary blade. Yeah. Okay, next one here. Another just fucking nailed it. More light shed on the cloning thread from S1 and S2. Guess what? We didn't just get more light. We got all the light. It is fully exposed. Like we got it all. And as Nick said, it does seem like Gideon was even going against what Hux was doing in terms of cloning. Like Gideon really kind of had his own little clandestine operation going on Navarro with cloning. So Nick said it perfectly. The window is wide open. It's a bright sunny day. Every ray of light has been shown on the cloning thread from S1 and S2.
Yeah. Now, does that mean that we're finished with the cloning talk and everything
Absolutely
like that?
not.
Obviously not. Obviously not. But in terms of like the storylines that were introduced from seasons 1 and 2 involving cloning, we've definitely closed
know
those threads.
Exactly what it is. Gideon had his plan, and it was almost there. It was Din and Din Grogu themselves that actually flushed his little babies down a proverbial toilet. And to close out our once with a win, we have Grogu's Rescuer. And boy, did we get that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Mr. Kelleran Beck making his debut in the Star Wars galaxy. Obviously, Ahmed Best plays him. And I think that I think that everybody involved and everybody who witnessed Grogu's rescue was happy with how it went down. You know, to not only have a new character introduced in Kelleran Beck, but to have Ahmed Best play it, and even though he didn't need a redemption in the Star Wars universe, as a lot of people were positioning it, it was fantastic to see him take up the mantle as a true Jedi Master, come in and save Grogu. And hey, I mean, it's highly likely that we will see him again, because I don't think that we've seen the end of this Grogu and Kelleran Beck story.
I mean, dude,
like flashbacks.
We talked about that during the episode. I mean, I still feel like there's more of Grogu's backstory owed to us, and I know that's an awful way to phrase that, like I'm entitled or some shit. But it is like, okay, we got the Rescuer. That's great. That showed, told us a lot about Grogu's past, but where do they go? Does he go to Naboo? Does he get passed around? How does he end up with a fucking Nikto gang on Arvala 7 in a little metal container? So I don't think we've seen the last of Ahmed and Kelleran either. All right. Yeah. So you know what? Those were just once. You know, we can't really congratulate ourselves too much for that. the predictions, that's where we make our not money, and these might get a little hairier. So here we go, Nick. Grogu, now again, these are predictions. These are things we were telling you all to take to the bank, potentially. But as Tone said, after the finale, the SWTS predictions bank has been flushed out and sold to JP Morgan Chase at this point in time. You know what I mean?
We may have a couple wins in here.
All right. So first one, Grogu will speak for the first time, probably towards the finale. Again, Nick, I'll default to you, but I'm thinking this is a win.
Well, technically a win. We'll say that's $50 in the bank.
A 50-50 win. All right, I'll take it. Yeah, because he did not speak himself, but he definitely used a robot to communicate for him.
We'll say that each of these predictions holds a potential $100 in the bank. Mm-hmm. We'll put $50, right, like you said, Matt, into the bank.
Cha-ching. Okay, here's a good one. This is a fun one here, and this is what happens when you fan speculations based on leaks when you don't know the full details. But this one's a doozy. Get a version of Jaster Muriel, probably Chris Lloyd's character, which would loop in Boba. That's a strike 1, strike 2, strike 3, you're out of here. Yeah,
we may have to remove $10 from
now
the bank. Now
we're negative, bro.
One.
We're already in the negative.
This was a big swing and a miss, obviously. A lot of speculation around Christopher Lloyd's character. I think a lot of people... I think what we need to get used to in the Star Wars TV verse is like when there are like big name actors that are revealed to have some sort of cameo role.
It's nothing special.
They're gonna be nobodies.
Right. Yeah,
like they're gonna be throwaway characters that likely will not have a long lasting.
If it's John's property, such as the Mandalorian. We've now seen 3 seasons of it, 3.5 seasons of it. He pretty much is a point A to point B type of storyteller. There's no like these little tangents we all think things are going to go on. So hopefully we'll get better at that for season 4.
Yeah, Dave is definitely the one where it's like, like this actor is going to be in it and it's going to be a cameo role. Dave is the one that will be like deep cut. This is fucking this character from episode 18, season 3 of Clone Wars that you may have forgotten about or something like that. That's definitely more Filoni's realm than it is John's realm. So, that's an L big on time. The prediction.
Awful. It was so bad. It was so bad.
It was so bad because we were so specific.
Oh yeah. That's what I mean. It was like 2 straight up fanboys right there. Like, Jester Muriel, Boba Fett, blah. It's a sort of something. Remember, it was in his chain code.
Fanboy alert.
So that was a lose, big time loss, or a loss works better. Okay, well, we might as well keep the losses going in order. The next one here, Sabine Wren's live-action debut, more than likely via Ahsoka. That's another bing and a bang and a boom. Both of those were misses.
Yeah. I mean, technically, by the way that we worded it, we are going to be correct because her live-action debut is going to take place.
That's what I meant.
Via Ahsoka
Not
series.
via Ahsoka the character. I meant via the series, silly.
Exactly.
We were getting ahead of the game for our Ahsoka predictions. Duh.
Yeah. No shit. But that's an L. We kind of talked through that one in our once, but definitely not a win that came to fruition.
Same with this next one. Armor revealed as Rook Cast. No, she wasn't. Yeah. She's just Emily Swallow in a sweet helmet that has horns on it.
Yeah. I mean, that's as far as we've gotten into the armor's past so far. Maybe in season 4. But like I said in the previous once segment, until it is officially revealed to me, I am done guessing who the armorer is. There are no more speculations coming from me that the armorer is this person or a bad guy or a good guy or a spy or anything else.
I'm with you. I'll try my best. I'll try my best unless making Star Wars grabs some sort of juicy leak with insights. But yeah, I'm with you. All right, here we go. It's just like taking them on the chin right after one after another. Din rides a mythosaur. Woo-hoo! Din didn't even fucking see it, nor does he even know it exists. No one's even told Din yet.
Yeah. As far as Din knows, he fell into that water and all that was around him were little fish swimming. Yeah, I mean, the mythosaur thing is interesting. I mean, I think that like also for us, just for general fans, like the entire perception of the mythosaur has changed, right? I mean, I don't think that any of us expected it to be a purely, at least to this point, a purely aquatic creature.
Yeah, not me. And you know, a lot of us, we were kind of taking the songs of Ian's past to heart. We're like, yeah, if Mythosaurus returns, that just automatically means Mandalorians are going to mount them. And no, it doesn't. Yeah. It just means the planet is ready for a new age.
Yeah. You know, it is actually, I mean, like, this isn't to say that they may not ride a mythosaur at some point in The Mandalorian, but to this point, like, I don't even see how you could do it. Like, given the scale of how big a person is next to a mythosaur and the fact that as of right now, this thing lives completely underwater, I don't even see how that would be possible. But
they do. I guess they have jetpacks, so I guess if you need to mount it, you could just kind of shoot yourself up there as long as you got enough fuel.
Yeah.
You need the spacefaring fuel, not the let's go find a abducted Mandalorian foundling fuel. Because remember, they're two different things.
Exactly.
The foundling fuel runs out very quickly, where the spacefaring fuel can take a Mando from underneath a planet, like in the planet's core, all the way to space.
Yeah,
gotta love it.
It's got that specific type of gas.
All right, so no riding mythosaurs. Bo didn't ride it. Din didn't ride it. No one's riding it. Hell, I mean, the only one that got close to it is technically Grogu when he reached into the living waters and just said, "Hey, buddy, I'm here."
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, Nick, I think this one kind of we're getting back on track here. We're back in the win column with Darksaber drama resolved with new twist and understanding, and I think we can massage the new twist and understanding to make it still work, right?
No, yeah, I agree. I mean, for the new twist and understanding, I feel like the general thought behind the Darksaber was it is the be-all and end-all for all Mandalorians. Whoever holds this blade is the leader of Mandalore, right? Like, that's kind of the way that we're taking the understanding. And that's of no fault of our own. I mean, if you look at the history, if you look at Star Wars Rebels, if you look at Star Wars Clone Wars and the meaning attached to the blade leading up to it, we were under the assumption that, like, hey, man, if you beat somebody in single combat, you get this blade, you're the leader. Now, the new twist and understanding is that really that only applies to non-creed believing Mandos. You know, that only like applies to those people who were,
if we can call them that.
Yeah, exactly. Like the pure-blooded Mandalorians, that was kind of their belief structure. And the people who followed the creed, the watch, didn't really have any sort of honor or respect given to the Darksaber at all, other than it was a blade used at one time by a very famous Mandalorian Jedi. So I do think that this is a win on both parts of this prediction. Right. The drama is resolved, and there is new understanding to how the Darksaber's mythology works.
A win's a win. All right, this next one here, I still think we get a little bit of credit. Okay, Nick, hear me out. Moff Gideon leading crew of former Mandalorians in battle against Din and Bo's forces. So, those in the Super Commando or Mandalorian Commando armor, we don't technically know if they were former Mandalorians or not, Nick, but they were wearing Mandalorian armor and almost fighting sorta like Mandalorians. Yeah. So what do you think? I mean, do we get any credit for this?
We have no way of proving that they were former Mandalorians. So I think that this is still a win. Bruh. This is at least a partial win, because Moff Gideon did lead a crew of people that are wearing Mandalorian-esque armor in battle against Din and Bo's forces. This is 100% true.
All right.
So
I'm with you.
Yeah, I mean, there could have definitely been some former Mandalorians in there, but they didn't take their helmets off.
There you go.
In fact, because they didn't take their helmets off, it leads me to
they're
believe
children of the
even
watch.
more that they're
yes,
former.
They believe in the creed.
Yes.
Well, yeah, think about it, Nick, because they were just standing in that ray shield hallway almost like they were statues. So they had their helmets on. So, yes, you're right. So that's a full win. I'm going to upgrade that to a full win at this point in time. You litigated me into thinking that. So thank you. Next up, 100% win. We kind of finished with our once, but Grogu's Jedi Temple Savior revealed to be ... So that means it's a win. Right?
That's a win.
We didn't pick a name. We just said it's going to happen, right? So it works.
It's going to happen.
Nope.
And it happened. Mr. Kelleran Beck is the savior, and he was revealed. So nothing more to say there. That's definitely a win.
See you, Tones. Good having you back, buddy. Get to bed. All right, yeah, we'll take that. We'll take those wins. Oh, here's a fun one. This is hey, Sabine's mom will show up. Why not? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we definitely put a lot more focus on like the retaking of Mandalore is going to be like a full like Avengers Endgame style moment for all Mandalorians where like, hey, everybody's coming in. Everybody's coming in. And it really wasn't. It was really like, hey, we got like 50 guys and we're just going to go for it.
I mean, that's what it felt like. I think the creators wanted us to think it was more like there was actually a bunch of people on that capital ship or the light cruiser and whatnot. But Nick is right. It is like, yeah, we found 50 Mandos. That means all factions are reunited. We've taken Mandalore and relit the Great Forge. Amen.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we know that there is an Avengers Endgame style kind of come together coming
Sabine's
at
mom's
some
like,
point.
fuck off, Bo. I mean, but listen, hear us out. The last time we see Sabine's mom, and it's not in timeline order, but she was a night owl with Bo-Katan trying to recruit Ahsoka Tano to help them kick Maul off the fucking planet. So,
exactly.
I mean, it did sound like her and Bo might have been tight at some point in time. Maybe that fell apart towards Rebels when went to Wrens. They were kind of back on their Citadel compound on a planet. Bo was, trying to remake herself after Death Watch. So who knows? But I think we had good intentions by throwing that prediction up there.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that there was a lot of like previous content that led us to believe that this would be possible, or
but your point
is
more true to I think why we were throwing out the Sabines and I think her name's Ursa Wren. You did kind of think like, okay, if the goal here is to reunite the Mandalorian factions, tribes, whatever, you would think you would have got some of the other named Mandos from the animated series. I mean, we talk about Fen Ra being a possibility, the Wren family being a good possibility, but hey, it didn't happen.
Yeah. I mean,
I guess B-Mad's got a point here.
Futures.
What if she's dead from the purge? I mean, well, yeah, no, because Nick, I believe, especially now that Bo told the story of how she lost the Darksaber, the purge and the Night of 1,000 Tears would have taken place after Bo getting the Darksaber in Star Wars Rebels. So I do think B-Mad is on to something there.
I mean, it's very possible. Yeah. I mean, because the way that she essentially said, like, I gave away the Darksaber to
try and stop that shit.
And as far as we know, she had it. She was given the Darksaber by Sabine in Star Wars Rebels, and then she kept it up until she gave it away. So, I mean, it would be interesting if Ursa Wren did die off screen, considering how primary big of a character she was. But I mean, it is definitely possible. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're 50 Mandos. Maybe that's truly all that was left. You don't know. And the way these people, at least the cult acts, like, how could they even procreate? Paz somehow had a kid. Was it adopted? Well, I guess we'll never know at this point in time.
Yeah.
All right. Mandos will ultimately unite under Din and Bo to rise against Gideon and the Remnant. So, yeah, sure, why not? I mean, that Din and Bo, even though it was technically Bo, Din was with her every step of the way. He went with her to that Plantier or Plazier 15 to get the owls. He was with her when he brought her to the Watch, where they both got taken back into the tribe. So even though Bo technically is who they united under, without Din, that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I think that there was a lot of expectation that there was going to be like some sort of joint rule happening, like Bo and Din are both the rulers of Mandalore. Yeah,
you're the one that always knew that Din was just a guy. Like you identified him as just a dude season 1. And it's okay. He can be just a dude and still be a kick-ass rad Star Wars character.
Yeah, no, he's a kick-ass
He's
dude.
a Han Solo, man. I mean, that's what he is. He's a fucking dude.
Yeah, I mean, Han Solo doesn't want to be like Han Solo.
He left his goddamn wife and kid because he didn't even want to be like a general anymore. He's like, fuck this shit. I want to go steal stuff.
Like he reluctantly took the role of general even in ROTJ. Like when they're all sitting at the council or at the war planning council before they do the attack on Death Star 2, like Lando gets called out as a general. And he's like, "Oh yeah, happy to be here." And then everybody they call out Han as a general, and Lando's like, "What? You fucking really?"
They kind of both incredulously react to each other, like, "You're dumbass. You're the guy I know from the old gambling scoundrel days. You're a general now too." It's like, yeah, well, so am I. So yeah, that's who I look at as Din. He is a bitchin' badass, strong, tough guy character. Obviously, the fans love him. But he's not a Princess Leia. You know what I mean?
No, yeah. He does not want to be involved in the politics. He doesn't
clearly
want to be
Luke Skywalker didn't
want
want to either, based on the sequel trilogy. So you never know.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll see. I mean, I really do think that Din is kind of done with the political side of the Mandalorian uprising. I think that he is really
he's focused on his damn son. That's it, man. He's got his son, and they're gonna work Grogu's ass up to full Mandalorian. I think that's his plan, plain and simple at this point. Until Thrawn shows up and shit hits the bed.
Yeah. Next one.
Next one here. Thrawn Stinger for Ahsoka series tease. That was that's a big.
Yeah, I mean, not a stinger. We definitely got the mention of Thrawn.
There you go. I like
where
Nick's going here. I think he's trying to pull this one out of the grave. Go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, we know that Thrawn's re-entry into the galaxy is a part of the Remnant's plan. Via Peleon, obviously, in the Shadow Council that we saw happening. So we know that that they are still planning, like, hey, Thrawn is out there. Thrawn's going to come back. When Thrawn comes back, it's go time. Like that's kind of the greater Remnants idea, or at least some of the greater Remnants idea is like, hey, just bide our time, and then when Thrawn comes back, we're gonna retake everything. But as for like a true stinger of like, hey, you get to see the back of Thrawn's head as he's sitting on the Chimera, and then boom, they're back.
The one we had in our heads definitely didn't happen. But I think your wordsmithing does salvage that one a bit, because he's not wrong. We did get a tease of Thrawn in Ahsoka, or we did get a tease of Thrawn for the Ahsoka series in The Mandalorian season 3. It just absolutely did not play out as we predicted.
Yeah.
All right. And this last one, Nick, let me run with this one for a bit, and then
I was gonna say I'll let you
be the final judge, okay? So here's the last one. Okay. Grogu inches even closer to becoming the next Tar Vizsla. All right, so I'm gonna say yes, it worked, and here's why. Okay, Grogu got his next piece of armor. Grogu trained with other foundlings and won with his little dart game. And by the end, Grogu got a battlefield promotion from Mandalorian foundling to Mandalorian apprentice. So he is still in the program to become a Mandalorian, and he is still using the Force as a Mandalorian apprentice. So therefore, Nick, I do believe he is still inching closer to that type of character in the galaxy, meaning a Force user that is also a Mandalorian.
Yeah, I mean, I think by the very essence, by the essence of what Tar Vizsla was, that is correct. Like Tar Vizsla, I think that you could construe this in two ways. You could look at this as like, oh well, Grogu inches closer to becoming the next Tar Vizsla means like the next great leader of Mandalore.
I was going to say, but there's some caveats to that,
blah,
so I'm glad Nick's taking care of it.
Yeah, but in terms of like the base definition of what Tar Vizsla was, a Force sensitive Mandalorian, we are definitely coming closer to that. Yeah.
And I'm not like, listen, I'm not trying to fuck around here. That's what I meant when I laid down this prediction back in February. Not that Grogu is going to become the guy, the leader, but he is going to mimic that type of character that hasn't been seen in the galaxy since Tar Vizsla.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would consider that a win. Like, he was not expelled from the Mandalorian order because he can't talk, thanks to his new papa.
That's right.
Officially adopting him and that being accepted.
And you are right.
Pretty quickly.
The Watch should set up an adoption agency because they get that shit done lickety split. No red tape. You just gotta say, hey, we don't know where this foundling's parents are. They could be anywhere. They could be alive or dead. So I'll take it. It's like, all right, go ahead.
He is yours. He is officially
now he gets your name too.
Now
He gets your first last name.
Yeah,
gotta love it.
I mean, I do consider that a win.
Sweet.
I consider that a win.
So not bad. So here's the recap. I'll just do L's and W's. If anyone in the audience wants to tabulate and give us a score, go for it. I know Nick and I will not. So we had a win with the first one. So win, loss, 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 win, 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 loss, win, sort of win, win. So not too bad. I think there's more wins than losses.
Yeah, I mean, that's more wins than losses. So
if it's baseball, I think we're hitting a pretty damn good batting average. All right.
Oh yeah, I mean we're above 300 in baseball.
We're sluggers, motherfucker. We got this shit down.
300 get you into the Hall of Fame.
Right.
So there you go.
That was fun. So let's just go ahead and move right into the final bit, the final segment we have planned for The Mandalorian Season 3, and that is our top moments from the season. All right, so Nick, I kind of put these in there. If you got any to add at the end, I'm more than happy to include them. But for now, we'll just kind of go off the list and see what we got. So, we as odd as this may sound, and it really is sound, especially it is odd especially if you listen to the show a lot and my opening riff on Jedi Survivor, but we typically like to keep things positive about Star Wars on the Star Wars Time show. And I know, listen, it sounds ridiculous, especially with my opening rant. But I'm not really here to focus on what people may consider low points of the season. I mean, I didn't really find anything in season 3 that offended me or made me roll my eyes. I think the only thing I would critique would be episode 3 with that just long cutaway from the Mandalorian action to Pershing, but I also enjoyed the Pershing check-in. So we're just going to focus on stuff we enjoyed. All right, you can go find the bitching and moaning on socials, or when I talk about combat mechanics in Jedi Survivor. All right, Nick. So let's go ahead and shit. Well, the first one I have here, we've talked about a few times, so we can just kind of move right by it. But a top moment for me, and I believe my friend Nick would also agree, because I know it was kind of on his list of things that was getting a bit nauseating, and that is the Darksaber drama is gone from The Mandalorian. It's gone. Who cares how it resolved or how it played out? That thing got fucking crushed. And for the most part, Nick, it seems like they've moved on from that, the lore and the constraints that Saber placed on parts of that society.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I think, like you said, we kind of talked through this one twice. That is definitely one of the top moments because it was just like a specter hanging over
it just gets that shit out of the way. We don't have to worry about it anymore. Hopefully, in season 4 we can just focus on what has Bo and them done since season 3. Let's hope it's not back in the squabbling or let's repair the Darksaber, blah blah blah. Hopefully, that moment, it being resolved in season 3, means that's it. Okay. But that is a top moment. Next top moment we have for you here, Grogu and Bo rescue Din and see the Mythosaur. So if you forget what I'm talking about, Nick, this will take you all the way back to episode 2 where Din gets himself in a pickle. And for the first time, Grogu on his own literally has to leave Din's side to go and get help. And he eventually makes it to Bo. They get back. We get to see Bo in action. She's kicking ass with the Darksaber, technically wins it back. And then it ends with that big reveal when the sinker, the not bobber having Din Djarin sinks to the bottom of the living waters, we get the Mythosaur. So really it was kind of that whole sequence from the moment Din gets captured to the moment Bo sees the Mythosaur. I just thought those events were top notch.
Yeah, I mean, it did a lot, like even though we semi-identified it when it happened, you had the official changeover of the Darksaber from from Din's possession to Bo's, like, so that was covered, and you had confirmation of the existence of mythosaurs, of living mythosaurs on Mandalore. So that was definitely like two huge. I mean, technically, that one episode alone fulfilled both prophecies, or like the prophecy for the Watch and the requirement for the pure blood Mandos, for like Bo to be the leader, and for the reestablishment of
she baptized herself, kept her helmet on, and then also technically you won the Darksaber in combat. So you hit the nail on the head.
Like that one episode checked off all the boxes that Bo and everybody else needed to like say, hey, it's go time. Let's get our plan.
If you remember the visuals of Bo and that Darksaber and how quickly she, kind of handled the enemies that were giving Din problems, that it like Nick was saying, we got a lot in this episode for Bo-Katan in terms of setting her up as this skilled warrior, the savior of Din, but also, as he said, working her towards becoming the next Mandalore by appeasing both factions that this show follows. Okay, sticking with Bo and Din, Nick, I also really enjoyed the moment where Bo and Din, and this is at the end of episode 3, where the armorer, after Paz gives them some shit, welcomes them back into the Watch. Not only Din, but also grants Bo membership.
Yeah, I mean, I think that in terms of how this played out narratively, it was an important moment for Bo, because she was at a point to where she was essentially just listless.
Yeah, just lost her home. Remember, it just got blown up at the beginning of that episode.
Yeah, I mean, and her band of Mandalorian friends had essentially abandoned her. They left her just kind of in the lurch, all on her own. And that moment really kind of like put into perspective, like, we may have our differences, but it is more important for us to be together as a people than it is for us to squabble amongst ourselves about like what you believe and what you believe.
Yeah, I mean, that moment set the groundwork for what ultimately happened in the finale. I mean, this is how the armorer, through that olive branch, and Bo, through accepting it, kind of got on the same page, and were able to get over their major differences, the cultural differences. Again, a big surprise. Humanoids having cultural problems that cause war. I mean, just look within ourselves. That's all we are. We're all the same motherfuckers based on DNA, outside of a few tweaks here and there, but for some reason we can't coexist. Mandalorian's the same way, and it was because of their culture differences, and that moment kind of helped heal some of that and set up Bo for growth and understanding, which paid off. She redeemed herself.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 4, moving right through this, which is good. Kelleran Beck saves Grogu and gives Ahmed a win. Notice I said gives him a win. Doesn't redeem him, because Ahmed didn't need redeemed. He did a great job being asked what he was asked to do for the prequels and bringing Jar Jar Binks to life. And then the media and fans, thank God there was no social media back then, tore him down to the part where he was on a bridge wanting to jump off. So I loved seeing who saved Grogu, and it was someone none of us were expecting. That was great. But really, on a human level, it was awesome to see that man get a fucking win from Star Wars.
Yeah. I mean, it was, I think they started to kind of fold Ahmed back in a kind of a small way with the Jedi Temple challenges. Kid show on Disney Plus. Obviously, Ahmed had been kind of like a staple on the celebration scene for a few years up to this point, after he had like come to terms with his role in Star Wars. And I think that this was just like, it was kind of the cherry on top for him personally, and then also for like fans of the franchise in general. So overall,
I mean, listen, I'm kind of an animated version of myself these few hours that I do this show, but I'm also someone that is, I guess I am an angry person. I'm very pessimistic. I'm somewhat antisocial. Sometimes I'm one of these people like, screw everyone else. Who cares? I hate humans type of deal. But when I saw the reactions that Ahmed Best was getting on socials, and then seeing him react to the reactions, that's where I was like, you know what? As a human, I love seeing this happen for another human, even though deep down I don't necessarily enjoy most humans. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I think that, like, if you can say one thing, like, people can have their opinions about Disney, Star Wars, and stuff like that. I think one thing that they've done a really good job with is on like an actor's perspective. Like, they have really taken a lot of these actors who were railroaded in the prequels and really brought them back into the fold and done a really fantastic job of making Star Wars fun for them again. Like, this with Ahmed Best. I mean, just with Hayden Christensen coming back Kenobi. In the Kenobi series, and even with, I mean, I don't think that to the degree that Ahmed and Hayden experienced it, but like even just bringing Ewan back, like bringing Ewan back to the role of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and really kind of doing that character justice in the the post Rots world, and giving him his own series, and how that played out. Like, I think that they've done a really good job of like taking some wrongs, quote unquote, from the prequels and
I mean, the other thing, and I don't want to go too far into it because the people that don't like what they call wokeness will be upset, but Disney, whether you people that don't understand inclusion or not, they've done a great job at inclusivity with newer Star Wars, bringing people of color, giving them pop roles like Ahmed right there. Bo essentially being the lead this season, making it a strong female lead. That stuff is all good. And I know some of you white people out there, especially you white men that have only seen white men and white people on TV, it still rubs you the wrong way. I feel sorry for you that you waste brain power on that type of stuff. But think about it. For us, all we've seen our whole lives are our kind on TV, being heroes, warriors, saviors, gods. Isn't it okay to let non-white males also experience that every once in a while? Is it really that big of a deal? Is someone really shoving an agenda down your throat by putting different colored people on TV in lead roles? Think about it. Think about it, my friends. Think about it.
It makes a big difference when you see how, like, the people that it's
Yes!
meant for react to it. Like when you see
Nick,
like
I get
a
it through
little
my
black
daughter.
girl who watches,
Watching shows where there's not a strong female character, my kid will tune out, and it makes sense. She's not seeing herself in these characters.
Yeah, I mean, when you see it in action, I think it has a lot more of an effect, and you realize like how powerful that can be in media. And yeah, I mean, like people are going to have their own opinions and they're going to say what they want to say about it. But like when you sit down and you watch like a little black girl watch the TV shit, like watch Obi-Wan Kenobi, and she
Reva.
sees Reva,
soon to be the acolyte.
Like, oh
I mean, the acolyte's nothing but people of color and women. Yeah,
and like when they see those people on screen and you see their reaction to it, and they say, "Oh, she looks like me," or "He looks like me," that's a very powerful. I know, man,
but that is a concept that a lot of humans just don't understand, or they choose to not understand because they want their tiny worldview to still be the only worldview. All right, that's enough getting into the political type of stuff. Not that this stuff should even be political. It's just fucking humanity, people. Yeah. Like, why does everyone give a fuck what other people are doing? As long as they're not breaking the law or fucking with you personally, isn't the world crazy enough? Don't you have enough shit going on in your own life? Like, why are you caring about who loves who or who wants to do what to their body? Who fucking cares? Not me. All right. Moving on. Up next, number 545. Here we go. Shadow Council Insights as a top moment. And I left that pretty broad, Nick, because I like the whole scene I loved, and I felt it was a top moment for the season because, you know, obviously we got the reintroduction of Gideon, but it just made clear that the Remnant isn't just a warlord in Navarro space or Mandalore space. It is an organized machine that is operating in the shadows, has grand plans to return the Empire to power. You had Paleon in Hux working on the Project Necromancer and Thrawn. You have Gideon doing his thing. Then you had the other kind of monsters there. So really everything about this scene was very insightful. It helps set up things we're going to see in Ahsoka and beyond, as well as Filoni's movie. And anytime the Empire gets together at a leadership level, it's always great to see them interact with each other, how slimy they are, how insidious they are, and how just they're all individually power hungry, but they pretend they're not.
Yeah, I mean, and it's also the first time that we have like true confirmation from the horse's mouth, like what the Empire is like, what their long-term goals are, like what their
they are the rebels
is.
at
Like,
this point in time. I mean, they're meeting in secret to take down a bigger machine.
Yeah, I mean, up to this point, it's been purely speculation. You know, like we've only like the only leader of the Imperial Remnant that we've seen in the Mandoverse has been Gideon, and up to this point, his motives have been largely unknown. We're just like, well, he's just fighting to take control back. You know, that's all we could really say. And after the Shadow Council meeting, we now have a more concrete idea of like how they're going about that. What are they scheming? Like, what was the purpose of the cloning program that we saw initially? What is their long game beyond that? Like, that gives us like a lot of insights and a lot of information into like what the next 15 years of this galaxy could look like. Because realistically, we still have 20 plus years until we get to the sequel trilogy timeline. If not more.
And shit always changes. I just read something, I think it was official, where they're saying season 1 of The Mandalorian was only 5 years now post ROTJ instead of 7.
Yeah, it was supposed to be
who
7.
Who the fuck knows? I think the only number we know for sure is that TFA takes place something like 38 years post Jedi. I think that's something you can count on. But you are right. It's 20 plus years, even beyond what we've seen so far.
Yeah. So there's a lot of time to cover. And in that time, you have to, there's a lot of action that needs to happen. So seeing at least the ideas in the like the long reaching plans that the Imperial Remnant has for the first time was definitely a top moment.
Yeah, and you got to wonder now, Nick, because you are right. There's many years ripe for storytelling, but will this season's and some of the negative buzz around it, will it affect storytelling? Will it limit? Because we know Lucasfilm will do it. They killed the whole a Star Wars story fucking project after Solo. They scrapped other films, so I don't know. Hopefully the numbers look good, but we know Disney is struggling money-wise. Their stock has just been shit this entire year, like most stocks, but Disney in particular has nosedived. And
I mean, it's not great, too. If you haven't heard, the entire Writers Guild Association is now on strike.
That happened last night.
Yeah, last night. Like, I know that this largely won't affect Star Wars because this is more like, because the Star Wars writing room is like the Star Wars creators write their own shows. So like, I don't think that Dave Filoni is involved in the strike. I don't think that Jon Favreau is involved in the strike because while they are members of the Writers Guild,
they will. Well, here's the deal, Nick. They will strike, but their projects are in the can. I mean, season 3 is done. Yeah, exactly. Ahsoka's done. And I actually read today, Tony Gilroy has come out and said they finished the season 2 finale script last week, so the strike will not delay that either. Here's the problem. When it comes to unions, especially in entertainment, if one goes out, the others kind of have to not cross the line. So they still could shut down productions, is what I'm saying. Yeah,
I mean, the Writers Guild named Disney as one of the main reasons they're negotiating partners that they were trying to get a deal done with. So like Disney, Sony, Universal, all of these like giant producers of content are included. And I mean, luckily for us, like you said, season 2 of Andor's in the can, and I think that John had even said at some point that season 4 was largely finished of The Mandalorian. So
yeah, it's I
mean, we'll see how long
it just depends if like the DGA follows suit, if SAG tells the actors to not work, because it can happen. I mean, when the writers go out, like I said, it usually is a unifying movement across all the guilds in entertainment. Yay. I'll still never forget the one that happened 15 years ago now, because it killed a lot of good shows. It fucked Lost and Heroes. Those are the two that stand out to me.
I would say Heroes was the one for me that I was like, oh wow, this show just literally died.
They obliterated it. It came back and it wasn't even the same fucking show. It was awful. But I kept watching it because of Hayden and Grunwald, right? Greggy was in there, Snap Wexley. Yep. But I'm glad you brought that up. I kept forgetting that actually happened, because we talked about this a while ago, that this was a possibility, and it happened. You know what? I know a lot of people, they have certain opinions on unions. Some unions I think are egregious, like the auto unions and shit I used to have to deal with up in Detroit, and why the auto industry almost folded. But some unions I do think make sense, and this is one of them, because if you read the negotiations, I mean, the streamers are essentially like, fuck all you people, we'll just get AI.
Yeah, like they literally one of the main talking points that the big corporations didn't agree to was that they can't use they can't use AI to write shows. They can't use Writers Guild members writing to train AI. A lot of it was around AI. Was like, hey, you can't replace us with artificial intelligence.
The streamers want stuff to be done automatically and cheap, where the writers want to be paid for their art. That's where we're at.
And it's like when Netflix says no, we won't respect your desire to not be put out of a job by AI, man, that's kind of tough. That's kind
Yeah,
of
and
tough.
I'm with
And
that.
that
I
is-
really do think everything's probably going to come to a standstill. I just hope that now that they announced Dune 2 coming out in November, I hope that stays on track.
Yeah, I mean, all of the late night shows already are off the air.
They're done.
Yeah, so if you're a fan of like Jimmy Fallon or any of the other like late night television
time to catch
shows,
up on some of that shit on your list. Yeah. One that I have to talk about. I know we're a little off track here, and I want to get back on track because I don't want to do a long one. But I have been putting this off because we've had to get right to Star Wars. But my God, Nick, Shrinking on Apple TV Plus, starring Harrison Ford and Jason Segel, just may be the best written series I've ever experienced in my life. And I'm talking from like a comedy, but with some dramatic elements perspective.
I have.
Harrison Ford is amazing. He plays a fantastic, crotchety old curmudgeon. It's just, Nick, I'm telling
himself.
you, the writing here is brilliant. And a lot of the writing, I believe, comes from Brett Goldstein, who is Roy Kent in Ted Lasso, who also writes for Ted Lasso. Yes. So if you like the writing of Ted Lasso, you'll love Shrinking, and it also has that Star Wars element via Harrison Ford. But my goodness, I just like the way they write. Like you can see they'll set up kind of a payoff in one scene and payoff at the end, and you're like, my God, is that brilliant? These fucking writers, see? Fuck AI. But yeah, Shrinking, check it out. Shit is fantastic. Okay, let's get back to our top moments of Mandalorian Season 3. We're up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number 6, and this is kind of a catch-all. We talked about it a bit earlier, but Mandos versus everyone is how I titled it, Nick. And I'm just talking about the action beats featured in the pirate battle, the saving of Ragnar, retaking Mandalore, the dogfights that accompanied them in the air, Paz's sacrifice, Lady Kryze, your reinforcements have arrived, and of course all the duels at the end between Din, Gideon, Din Grogu, and Bo. I really think when we got action, it was choice.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a ton of credit to stunt teams, ton of credit to the fight coordinators, action coordinators for the show, because this probably was the best season in terms of like pure action moments so far. And I think that could be said for not just the Mandalorian seasons, but maybe all of Disney Star Wars TV.
I mean, dude, the dog fights alone are some of the best in all of Star Wars. I mean, it just the one lone one with Din versus the pirates. Then you had Din and Bo versus the Empire, and then you had Din and Bo versus the pirates again. Just all fucking. They looked great. They flowed well. They were tense, and as we said earlier, just seeing Mandalorians in a coordinated fashion attacking anything is a visual treat.
Yeah, absolutely. So big win on that.
Okay.
For sure.
Up next, I think this is a win. We got insights into the New Republic and kind of how it was trying to bumblefuck its way through managing the galaxy after the fall of the Empire. So, Nick, we learned about things like the amnesty program and how that was being used. We met Adelphi Squadron, and we learned how the New Republic is so bogged down in red tape that they already can't really take care of threats unless you're a member planet, and even then you gotta take a ticket and wait.
Yeah, I think that one thing that Star Wars has always done a pretty decent job of was kind of looking into the political structure, whether it be the bad political structure of like the Empire, First Order, and the good political structure of the Grand Republic and the prequels, and now we're kind of getting that with the New Republic and seeing that like, hey, I think the message all around is like government is imperfect. Like it doesn't matter what your intentions are. Like obviously, if your intentions are bad, like the Empire, then you're gonna have some bad shit going on in the background. But even if your intentions are good, like the New Republic, there is a reality to the fact of trying to govern and manage the needs of
a galaxy,
not
just a few planets. We're talking
in,
about a galaxy.
Yeah, hundreds of planets potentially. I mean, it's impossible to have a response to everything. And seeing that via Kane as a spy within the amnesty program and her dealings and surely what will happen further with her
she can't be the only one, right? She can't be the only one that's broken conditioning and is still working for the Remnant.
And even seeing, like you mentioned with the Delphi Squadron and Carson Teva, like already there are splinter cells within the New Republic itself that's like, hey, like I know that there's a queue, like I know there's a line and you gotta respect the line, but sometimes you have to be like, this is an immediate need and we need to go fucking do something about it, even if the something is just like telling the other people like, hey, be aware, like, hey, heads up, like this is happening, this is coming down, like.
Well, I think that the other thing I liked is we went from two extreme ends of the political spectrum. We went from essentially fascism, imperialism, to what we could describe as one of the most left-leaning governments of all time. I mean, Mon Mothma was so progressive. She's like, we don't need an army. Let's just get rid of all the war machines. That'll make things better. Let's be nice to the people that were blowing up planets with Death Stars, and let's try to bring them back into the fold and recondition them and try to make them, productive members of society again. So we really got to see, like, if you're out on the far right or the far left, it's probably not going to work out. There is some compromise to where you kind of have to work towards the middle here.
Yeah, there is a middle ground that the Star Wars galaxy, for some reason, over tens of thousands of years, has just never come to. They've never found that.
Well, nor has humanity, so we'll keep going.
True.
Next one here, and this is, I guess, just kind of my love for Giancarlo Esposito and his character Moff Gideon, but I loved Gideon's new armor. I loved his grand plans and the way he delivered them grandly. And he really is just a great villain. He is a great villain, and that's why I believe that we were not seeing Gideon Prime. We were seeing one of his first clones, yes, one that did not get the Force, and he will be back. But Nick, to me, Gideon, once again, even though he just had 2 episodes this season, still kind of made his presence felt and stood out as just a great, fleshed out Star Wars villain.
Yeah, I mean, he made the most of his screen time for sure. Limited screen time, really made his presence felt, and then also left kind of, a lasting impression on the Mandalorian people for sure, but also like we've been kind of hinting at and teasing at, and what we believe is going to be happening. Like he's probably still around. So I think that with essentially 40 minutes of screen time, if that, he really made stuff happen.
He left an impact, even though he technically died. But he definitely stood out. So I just had to give some love to our boy Gideon. All right, we're down to the last 2, and none of these were really in any particular order. So I'm going to go with Bo's redemption arc, reuniting the clans and taking back Mandalore. I mean, we've kind of highlighted Bo's journey throughout today's discussion, but it really was. I mean, season 3 really was. It was about Din and Grogu kind of getting back to their roots and getting, back within the clan, and Grogu going on his journey to become a Mandalorian. But it really was about Bo being redeemed. And she was the one that needed redeemed. I mean, if you think about all the bullshit she started on Mandalore, and then losing the Darksaber to Gideon, as we learned, she got conned into that. And then failing in her second bid to get the Darksaber when Din retrieved it. So I really appreciated watching Katie's Bo go through this season as an angry, lovely-looking red-headed princess on a throne, getting ready to, shoot piss and vinegar at anyone that came in, to a true all-around embrace leader of Mandalore.
Yeah, I mean, I think it may have gone a little bit differently than we thought, because I think that we were probably thinking on it pre-season 3 on a more grand scale. But it played out in a fantastic way. And I think I think a lot of it had to do with respect, which is something that Bo never really had, and that's kind of what led her down the path to Death Watch initially, was that she didn't have respect for the rule, like the rule of law that was instituted under her, under Satine's rule. And then after that, it was all about like, it has to be done my way. It's my way or the highway. And I think that after so many instances of failure, Bo learned that it's not about her being right all the time. It's about her respecting the beliefs of others. It's about her respecting the culture that other people of her same clan had built. And I think that went a long way to her becoming who we see at the end of the show, where it's not just like where she sees the Creed Mandos and is like, what is this bullshit? None of this under my watch, like she's learned that respect for other people's culture, respect for other people's beliefs was an important part of being a true leader of a massive, gathering.
And Nick, what they're going to be printing on bumper stickers, Mandalorians are stronger together, right? She learned that too. 100%. Okay. And their last moment for season 3. It's getting a little sad. Goodbye, Mandalorian. It's been real. Shit, it probably won't be till, we'll be lucky if we get season 4 and 24, I think, at this point, especially with the strike. Right. But the last moment here, Jaren officially adopts Din Grogu and their narrative slate is clean. So listen, I know it's not Nick's cup of tea, but I love the Din and Grogu thing. Like that's the heart of the series for me, and it's okay that they weren't the leads this season. They still were the heart, okay? They might not have been the brain, but they were still the heart. So I just, it was touching to see that we've now gone from this guy that took Grogu on as a job, gave him up, thought about it, took him back, got him back to his people. He came back, and now they truly are an official family. But more importantly, like I said, the narrative slate is clean. So we don't have to worry about these quests anymore. He no longer has to worry about finding Jedi. He no longer has to worry about redeeming himself in the living waters. They can just get out there and start kicking ass and taking names again, which is going to be good for us fans because A, we're going to see them kicking ass and taking names, but B, through Din and Grogu, kind of like R2 and C-3PO, we are going to be exposed to more lore of what is happening during this time period in the galaxy, and that's exciting.
Yeah, I think you made the perfect analogy there with R2 and 3PO. Like Din and Din, as they are now known, Din squared.
The Dins.
They're the connective. They're the connective tissue of this part of the universe. Of the Mandoverse, and it's important for them to have that bond. And now the bond is made official even in the eyes of their own people. And I did that's kind of why I was always pushing for it. Din Djarin cannot be the leader of Mandalore. No. He can't do it narratively because then he's stuck there. You can't be the leader of Mandalore and also be a planet hopping carouser that just runs around and you get to see all of these different aspects of the Star Wars universe through their eyes. If you are the leader of Mandalore, you have to be there leading people and then in governing. And what they've done with him and Grogu was the perfect opportunity to both have them be truly Mandalorian, but also have them be truly independent of the needs of a Mandalorian leader. So I think that the way that they handled it was really well done, and it sets up their adventures for seasons and seasons to come. So yeah, very happy with how that played out.
Yeah, and that's that. There you go. SWTS's top moments for The Mandalorian Season 3. It's been real. It's a little sad. It is sad putting the Mando to bed. I do love that franchise. This season, it might have lacked some of the punch and excitement and reveals that we've come to expect, but I still think it was a worthy season, worthwhile. It definitely moved the goalposts. I mean, no more bullshit to deal with. We can get right into what the fuck was the New Republic doing during this time? What was the Remnant doing during this time? What's Thrawn doing during this time? And how do all of them mix together to produce the Resistance and the First Order by the time the sequel trilogy comes around? So that's good. I'd give season 3 probably about an 8 out of 10 if you wanted me to review it. Not my favorite, but also still top-notch Star Wars lore being delivered.
Yeah, I agree. I would agree with that rating. I think it's probably like a solid 8.5. I think what it does better than the other ones, and I think, obviously this was intended, is it kind of closes the chapter. Like now we are truly on to like a new page, a new, even you could even say like a new book of the Mandalorian.
No, you're exactly right, and that's kind of what we were making that point last week. We made with how this season and the finale ended with that circle fade. That is a thing in Star Wars that signals like this phase is completed, like it's done. So that book is written. Do you think we'll go right into chapter 25, or do you think they'll reset?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question because everything has been chapter oriented. I mean, I think it would be fitting if they restarted chapters, or if they had a different type of numbering system for Mando season 4 and forward.
Guess we'll see. I mean, like I said, hopefully in 2024, but with this strike happening, even if it was written, productions are all probably being delayed, stalled, pause at this point. So let's keep our fingers crossed. But sadly, we may be looking at another damn near 2-year jaunt before we get pure Mando again.
Before more
pure
Mando. And look, stand with the writers. For those of you out there who are like unsure of what you should do or how you should feel about this strike, here's the best way to put it. If it wasn't for the writers, you would have like all of your favorite shows wouldn't exist or would be way worse than what they are. So all the writers are asking for is to respect their art and have them be paid fairly for it.
I mean, if you just heard what I said about Shrinking, the best written series I think I've ever seen in terms of like it's not even a sitcom. It's just it's like a dramedy, if you will, a dramedy, whatever the fuck you want to call it. But that show, especially Nick, because there's no special effects, there's no action, there's nothing to like kind of distract your brain. It is nothing but excellent writing. So the kid's got a great point.
Yeah.
All right. Let's kind of move things along. This next one, Nick, nothing really to spend too much time on, so we can quickly get to the fan segment. But I thought it was funny that Damon Lindelof finally just came out and was like, yeah, I was in the fucking Star Wars universe, and they asked me to leave. It's like, Jesus. So all that speculation was true. He really did pitch. He was brought on board. He turned in a script, and they told him to go fucking pound sand. So it's pretty impressive that he copped to it. And this was in an Esquire interview, Nick. He said, essentially, they asked him like, hey, did you ever, get close? Was any of this true? And he's like, listen, I was in more than talks to join the Star Wars universe. I joined the Star Wars universe and was asked to leave. It's like, ooh.
Yeah. I'm going to say this. His idea sucked.
Yeah, because it's starting to sound like this Jeff Snyder guy, because Nick's moving into the next part of this story. Jeff Snyder from the Hot Mic podcast has been the one that's kind of been breaking news on this for months now. Damon was attached, this other writer, Sharmino Bachinoy, it's all kind of panned out. So what Nick is saying, apparently Damon's, one of the reasons he was asked to fucking go work at the Citgo was because he wanted to position a 60-year post-Tross movie in which Rey and Nick, I don't know how much you read into this, they were thinking of Rey being played by a Helen Mirren type. Like, that's who they kind of had in mind. So that's where let me read the setup and then we can go into it.
Yeah.
So again, this comes from Jeff Snyder. From what I understand, it was 60 years after the rise of Skywalker. Obviously, this changed a ton. Lindelof's was set 60 years down the line, but now we know that Daisy Ridley is coming back as Rey, so it's not going to be 60 years later. It'll be like 10 years later. What I heard was, when it was the original idea, the original actor that came attached, everybody thinks that was Yahya Abdul-Mateen II. It wasn't, and I actually got that confirmed recently. It was supposed to be an older Rey training two Jedi, a man and a woman. Both would have been people of color. Now, they didn't go out to this actress, but she was the comp. She was not offered, but she was on the casting list as ideally who we want, but it doesn't mean the prototype person is the person. But for older Rey, they were thinking of Helen Mirren.
I'm going to come right out and say this is a fucking terrible idea. Like, it's nothing to do about the story. It's to do about the time jump. Like, you can't jump 60 years. No, that's fucking stupid. Like, the way that, like, you could say whatever you want about Tross, you have to respect it in terms of where it put the series. You cannot jump 60 years from that point and your story be, well, now she's training people. What the fuck happened? Like, there's an immediacy to the follow-up need to Tross. She gets the books. She is officially a Jedi. Boom. You are crowned Jedi from all of these spirits that just helped you overcome the greatest evil that the world has ever seen.
She's technically not even
and
a Jedi.
You want to jump. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, she's not. She's whatever she is. Like, she is the new prototype for Force users. And you want to jump 60 years ahead of time, and your story is she's training two people?
Yeah.
That's fucking dumb.
It's too much.
Like,
it would be too much narrative to just happen off screen. You know what I mean? Like, you can't.
Yeah.
And what, like, listen, some of you may be like, well, Acolyte's 80 years before Phantom Menace. Well, that we already know what's happening up in Phantom Menace and that type of stuff. So
yeah, like, everything that, like, that from when the Acolyte happens, you're going to cover story that's going to get you to when when TPM happens. Like, that you're filling in story gaps. What he's doing, what Lindelof would have done was, you now have to fill in 60 years of gap of what was Rey doing after she got these books. Why did it take her 60 years to start training people? What the fuck was going on between when she was 27 years old to when she's 87 years old? Like, it doesn't make sense in terms of, like, your follow-up to the movie, because then you put so much burden on everybody who has to fill that gap in. Like, it was a terrible idea from the jump, and them asking him to leave at the point where they asked him to leave, now, good move. Like, if I'm so glad that they did. Well,
yeah, I mean, hey, it makes sense, because listen, I'm a big fan of Lindelof. I really do think he is a good writer. He's created some good shows. And I was kind of shocked that they told him to beat it, or that he literally turned in a script. And remember, Nick is like, oh yeah, he was gone 2 days later. Yeah. Well, now we know why. So
yeah, now we know why. Like, they literally were like, what? Like, did you see how the other movie ended? She just got the books. She just got the okay to, like, hey, you are now the future of the Force user generation in this galaxy, and you want to wait 60 years to address that?
Yeah, so, I mean, clearly a lot of that has probably been scrapped, if not all of it. You just don't know, because they did keep the director. That's the crazy thing. Like, the director stayed. The only person gone were the writing team, and they brought in Stephen Knight to finish the things out. So does this mean now, I mean, will Finn be involved? Nobody knows. No one knows, like, how much the original script is going to be maintained, but clearly they've already made a drastic shift, and that's just in the timeline itself. It went from 60 years post to 15.
Yeah, I mean, with Daisy coming back, like, obviously you can now use an appropriately aged Rey, and you don't have to completely recast the role. And you can now address the immediacy of what is happening in the galaxy. You know, like you now, like this is the first time in the history that we've seen in terms of like visual medium in Star Wars that the greatest threat to the galaxy is no longer in play. Palpatine, he's gone. So you now have an open window for the growth and training of new Force users under this new style of training that Rey is going to implement. So I'm excited to see where they go with it. And I'm excited that they're not going to completely skip over the development of entire generation of Force users under Rey.
Probably a good move, even though I like
this.
Damon. But yeah, now that this is coming out, the cat's out of the bag. Probably a good move by Lucasfilm there. Now, the best move would be just getting the fucking movie made so we can go to the movies and see a new Star Wars movie that isn't from 1983. Thank you.
Yeah. Again, this writer's strike is not going to help that happen.
Not at all. Not at all, considering Stephen Knight had to come in and rewrite most of it, so he's probably taking a break currently.
Yeah, he's on the pick.
All right, so those are all the current topics we have for you today, which means it's time for the fan segment. That's right. We are the only Star Wars fan podcast that has a dedicated weekly fan segment. Get involved. Come one, come all. It's easy. It's no pay to play. All you got to do is follow us, or hell, we don't even care if you follow us. Just look for the prompts on Instagram, because that's our most active social platform. So at Star Wars Time Show on Instagram, you can get involved with the question of the week, as well as our top 5 Star Wars fan artist features. So to start, Nick, we always do the question of the week. So let me go ahead and get some screens switched up. We put the question up on Instagram at Star Wars Time Show. You just need to respond, if you know what I'm saying. All right, so let's get rid of you, bring up you. All right, so this week's question, and sadly, I'm going to have to get creative starting next week because we're out of the easy ones here. But this week, the question put forth to Star Wars Time Show Nation: looking back at The Mandalorian Season 3, what was your favorite or least favorite moment? And I'll tell you, this one went nowhere, so I just kind of grabbed everything we got, Nick. I'll lead with the one story. You can rip through the comments. Okay, our boy Rippick__tan says, Bo-Katan gracefully slashing and hacking the Gollum Grievous is still a standout for me. Master Ahmad Best and Zeb making appearances are some of my favorite moments, and the Adelphi bass intro music was the banger track of S3. I agree on all fronts, good sir.
Good job.
Okay.
Next up is Mr. Ted 5 standing by. He says favorite part has to be the sheer amount of gratuitous live action Mando.
We talked about that too.
Indeed. Seeing so many Mandos on screen with all their different armors was like a wet dream. It was. They really did a good job.
What's Ted doing after he watches an episode of The Mandalorian?
Sounds like he's smoking a cigarette. Mancel472 says, for myself, my favorite parts of season 3 was seeing the rise of Bo-Katan, worn out, bitter, self-loathing ex-leader, to the mighty warrior queen she was always meant to be. Being first to the rescue no matter who they are, she saved them, defended them, fought by their sides. She brought the broken factions together and then united them to free Mandalore. I really enjoyed her story, as she has always been one of my favorites from Clone Wars to Rebels, and now hopefully her own series. Hey man, I'd be down for like a Mando, like a true like separate Mando series that kind of like follows the reemergence of Mandalorian. Oh, that'd
be great too. Or you know, the Din and Bo show where they go out and solve crime on random planets to gain favor of the king and queen. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Yeah,
let's do that.
Real
Let's
quick,
have a whole
shout out here to Mancel472. He's become one of our strongest new supporters, Nick. This guy shouts out from the top of the roof every week about the SWTS. So kudos to you. We speak your name, Mr. Mike Mancel.
We appreciate it. Thank you. Panda Boca says, big fan of Paz Vizsla's story arc / conclusion and seeing how the Mandos operated outside of battle. Paz turned out to be a real one. R.I.P. AZ.
I like that. Rip Az. Rip Az, not to be confused with Rip Ass, which I need to do here soon. Real quick on Pandas, I too really enjoyed how Mandos operate outside of battle. Remember, one of my top moments from the episode where they powwow in the cave to go fight the pirates, it's that type of stuff, those interactions. So I agree, Panda. Okay. I'm going to grab the double doozy here.
It's a duo. It's a duo here. We got the old toy pick. He says, definitely the best think was Grogu saving Mando and Bo in the end. Yes, the big fire save. And then the Darth Dondada says, that's amazing finale.
That's is.
So yeah, the family.
That's is.
That's is. And then last up, we got 2797 Studios. He's in the chat right now. He says, Mando Season 3 was a lot of fun, new locations and characters, Mandalorian lore, mythosaurs. I can't say it weird because you say it like that, but it is definitely spelled wrong.
Yeah, he bungled the spelling, but we got the intent.
It's okay. We got it. We got it, bad. Clones and more, but my favorite moment happened after the season was over. Who else in the 2%?
Me!
If you know, you know.
Me!
And then Ted 5 standing by's got the eyes.
Do you know what he's talking about?
Is it something that I missed in like the credits or something?
No. Katie was doing a podcast last week where she was kind of ratioing how fans look at Bo-Katan. She's like, listen, 70% of fans love Bo-Katan. 28% of fans hate Bo-Katan. And then she kept going through. It was really funny. You need to find it. It's been clipped many times. But then she ends with, and then 2% of fans, all they want to do is have Bo-Katan sit on their face. So that's where I was like, I'm in the 2% club. Yes, sir. I do know. Thank you, Bat. But yeah, Nick, you got to check it out. It's a great little clip from Katie.
I have to find it. I'm sure I can find it easily now that I know the content.
Yeah, dude, it's all over the place. Like, just do Bo-Katan 2% and guarantee you're going to get more than a few bites on that one.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So thank you to those that participated in this week's question of the week. I mean, really the best way to ensure you even see the prompt is go on Instagram and make sure you turn on notifications for Star Wars Time Show. Because I know you all, you're not skipping out. It's not you. It's the AI hiding it from you. But if you do want to get involved, don't forget Instagram is where to get that done. All right, so now it's time to shift gears and move in to everyone's favorite part of the fan segment, and that is our Top 5 Star Wars Fan Artist Features. The way this works throughout the week, if you add tag Star Wars Time Show on Instagram and use hashtag Star Wars Time Show, myself, and I will look at all those tagged shots, and I will share them, feature them throughout the week. Then on Monday, Nick sits down with his drink of choice, and he picks his 5 favorite to be, oh my goodness, the wheels are coming off. His 5 favorite to be discussed right now, right here on this little show.
All right, kicking off the top 5 for this week is At a Galaxy Far, Far, Far Away. And we have an awesome shot here of Mandoverse Ahsoka with her 2 white lightsabers laying waste to some stormtroopers that are shooting at her from different angles. I mean, this is probably something that we can look forward to seeing in the Ahsoka series. I know we've seen a lot of action.
Definitely
in the
fighting droids. We know that,
Ahsoka.
right? She's definitely fighting droids.
So, I mean, this is just an awesome Ahsoka action shot that we're all anxious to see happen in live action form.
And if you look closely, Nick, in A Galaxy Far, Far Away, I'm still not sure how they do this, but they do digitally manipulate the face to make it look even better than the already good-looking Black Series Ahsoka face looks. But he definitely tweaks that to make it look even more realistic, and it shows. Centered. Yeah.
She is centered in her Force abilities.
Looking good. So, at A Galaxy Far, Far, Far Away on Instagram.
That's right. Next up is at Star Wars Toy Photos _501. This is kind of a mini theme that I have going on within this top 5. I almost picked another one of a similar persuasion, but what we see here is 3 stormtroopers. They're probably on like watch break, and one of them, they're all sitting on like a big rock. One of them in the middle has a guitar, and he's just strumming away some tunes. I always like seeing what stormtroopers do in their off time. You know, like
sit around the campfire, play some music on the guitar.
Yeah, you know, they're not in hunt Jedi mode all the time. They got to have some downtime activities.
Yeah, remember, most of these fuckers were conscripted. It's not like they want to be there, so they're trying to make the best of a bad situation. But I'm with you, man. I know the other shot you're talking about too. I think it's from a Chang Smoker, but it's like a rock show stormtrooper, and I'm with you.
Yeah.
Anytime we see photography featuring stormtroopers doing regular daily life type of things, they're probably going to get talked about here on the Star Wars Time Show. We like that Star Wars humor or stormtroopers in everyday life type of stuff. So
Indeed.
This one's at Star Wars Toy Photos _501.
And on a similar note to that, we move down to at Dad.
I always love sad battle droid.
Sad B1 is what we have here. And man, I mean, again, this is kind of Star Wars outside of the battlefield that we're looking at here. So what we see here is a B1 that is completely in the fetal position on a couch
fucking
inside
wrecked,
of a house.
Like wrecked.
Just emotionally wrecked. You can see a bottle of alcohol on his table and others.
Yeah, right. There's bombs down there, right? Like there's he's got fucking pipes. He's got booze. I mean, this B1 is not having a Roger type of day.
He is self-medicating to the extreme. And hey, this is the reality of life after the battlefield, right? You come back home, you have to deal with the trauma of what you witnessed, really, and that even applies to droids.
I mean, just the emotions that this shot elicits from a droid, like Nick said, that's why it's a brilliant little setup from at Dad Fett. Just awesome. I love, and I think we featured some of his sad droid series before, but he truly, above and beyond most other Star Wars toy photographers, can somehow make Star Wars droids look extremely depressed and sad.
Yeah, I mean, top quality work here at Dad Fett. Thank you for your service. Next up, at Uncanny Figures gives us an excellent shot of Battle Bow going into the fight versus the Imperial Super Commandos. We see her jetpack flying, the Darksaber ignited, a beautiful dark sky behind her as she flies forward into battle. I mean, I don't know what else to say about the shot. It's clean, it's crisp.
Yeah, it's Uncanny Figures, man. I mean, he's one of the best in the business when it comes to 1/6 scale and composite work. I mean, every time he does a shot, it very rarely looks like a figure, and it very rarely looks like a picture of a figure. It looks like promotional material you would get from Lucasfilm. You know, something in Star Wars Insider, you know, the concept art, whatever. It's always top notch. In fact, I think we also, just on our regular features, featured one where he remade the Bo-Katan poster from season 3 using the figure. And again, it looks like an official piece of Mandalorian marketing from Lucasfilm.
That's right. Beautiful stuff. At Uncanny Figures on Instagram. Make sure to follow. And the final entry into our top 5 this week's comes from S2O Figures on Instagram, and it's a scene recreation. It's a scene recreation of the iconic save from little baby Grogu himself. It's the moment where Daddy Din Djarin's in the back. You got maybe Auntie, maybe it's Aunt Bo, right? Aunt Bo-Katan, right
for
next
now,
to him.
considering they left each other after retaking Mandalore together and didn't even say goodbye. So I don't think there's any feelings yet outside of just him being her protector or her knight. Not that she needs protected.
Exactly. Daddy Din, Auntie Bo, and then baby Grogu there throwing up his force wall to protect them all from being burned to death at the hands of the crashing light cruiser coming in.
Yeah.
It was just a fantastic scene recreation here from S2O Figures.
That's right. Quality stuff there. Once again, we always love seeing what you all put out. So don't forget on Instagram, add tag Star Wars Time Show, and then use hashtag Star Wars Time Show. Woo!
Right.
All right.
Well, that is the end of the top 5, and that's the end of our show for this week. So, Matt,
that'll do
close
it.
us
I got to start hitting all my buttons to get this thing ready to shut down. There we go. I think I'm at least at a point, Nick, where I'm not going to have to hit always to get to the right end bumper bump. But as Nick said, it is time for 262 to go to bed. So what we need you to do is to just keep beating that Star Wars time drum. Beat it like the Mandos did at the founding ceremony. Do. Star Wars Time Show. You must listen to it, even if you don't like Star Wars or the two white guys doing it. How about that? You like that? That's our new jingle. But in all reality, we love you. Those that come and play with us on the live stream, we appreciate you. We like the comments and all that fun stuff. But let's keep it going. Let's build this audience back up. We're in another rush right now. I don't know why. We kind of dipped during Mandalorian, but here towards the tail end, our listens have nearly doubled again. So if you are new and you're listening, you dig this type of stuff, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube if you're not already subbed up. And also don't forget, if you are on a podcast platform, to give us a rating and review if they allow that, because that goes a long way for us when it comes to the AI overlords that are legitimately out there right now dictating what type of content you other meatbags should be looking at. So don't forget, there's always time for Star Wars Time. Send the noobs over to starwarstime.net. They can find all the links there. They can get subbed up to the traditional podcast platforms as well as YouTube. And you never know. You may even find some other content up there, like our story on Old Rey and Damon getting the boot. Just don't forget, there's always time for Star Wars Time, starwarstime.net. We'll be catching you next week. Nick may or may not be here, and we may or may not have an interview with someone from Jazzwares. So who knows? It's kind of wide open next week. But one thing I do want to tease you all with, as long as the planning gods allow it, we finally settled on a date for the Star Wars Time Show, Star Wars D&D E1, S1E1, because hopefully there's more episodes and more seasons, S1E1 of our D&D special. We haven't talked about it for a while. We had our episode 0 back in March to kind of get the feel for the game, learn from our dungeon master, Nick, Jared, Sir Dork. We have Trevor, 1/6 shooter, myself. We'll be the players. So we're hoping to do this next week on the 11th. All right. I've circled the wagons. The other players know the time. They know the day. We just need to figure out a time and get that out to everybody. But we are hoping to do our first public-facing Star Wars Time Show, Star Wars D&D extravaganza next week on the 11th. So tune in. It's going to be something completely different than what you get from us on a weekly basis on the live stream. You're not going to have all the graphics. You're not going to have Matt bitching and moaning. You're going to get us kind of having fun, telling a story. It's Nick's story. We are the characters, and we're going to try to bumblefuck our way through it, rolling those dice. So, barring a last-minute schedule change, you could be getting 2 live episodes of the SWTS next week. So strap in, get those tips ready. It's time to take off. All right, my friends, don't forget, as we always leave you, just remember, there's always time for Star Wars Time. And if you listen to the Star Wars Time Show, the Force will be with you always.